From Aarhus, Denmark. Today we'll be seeing the women's team final competition featuring the top 8 teams in the world. The United States, there is the lineup for the U.S. women who will be competing in the team competition, different from the qualifying rounds. 3 athletes will compete on each event. All 3 scores count towards the team total. So from a team of 6, as you see there from China, 2 of their superstars, Cheng Fei and Zhang Nan, are back from previous world and Olympic competitions. 6 athletes on each team. 3 will compete on each event. And the top, all 3 scores count. So a lot of pressure in the team final competition. My name is Bart Connor, former world champion in gymnastics, and you are watching live coverage here on WCSN, the World Championships Sports Network, home of the world champions. Proud to be bringing this groundbreaking live coverage from Aarhus, Denmark, the World Gymnastics Championships, all week long. We will be featuring 18 hours of live gymnastics coverage. For the serious gymnastics fan, there is no other place that you can see this except on WCSN. And I'm especially proud today to be joined by world gold medalist and 2-time Olympian Tasha Schweiker. Glad to have you here, Tasha.
I'm excited to be here, Bart.
Now, you were a member of that gold medal winning team, historic gold medal winning team in 2003 in Anaheim, California. In fact, you were the captain of that team. And so, in some ways, 2003 seems just the other day, and in some ways, it seems like a long time ago, Tasha. How does it feel to you?
Oh, wow. Well, it really does seem just like yesterday, Bart. It was such a great experience just for the World Championships to be in the United States for us and to have our family and friends there. A lot of unexpected tragedies happened at World Championships for the U.S. women. Came in there with a healthy team and didn't leave so healthy, but we got the job done and we made history.
Let's talk about that rather historic breakdown. The first sort of disappointment was Ashley Postel. Didn't she get the stomach flu?
Yes. We came into Anaheim, and as we were traveling there, Ashley started to get sick. You know, we just thought it was the common cold, and it turned into something a little more extreme to the point where we had to take her to the hospital, and she had to be treated there. So basically it left us 1 team member short.
That was just the beginning, because
just
then
the beginning.
Courtney Kupets tore her Achilles tendon in training. And so the team was looking rather devastated. And then shortly thereafter, what else happened?
We're in vault training, and Anya blows out her knee.
Anya Hatch, Portawando Hatch, she blew out her knee. So here is a rather decimated team, and yet you all rallied to win the gold medal in a historic fashion in front of a home crowd. It was a thrill, and I know for you as the captain of the team, that had to be especially rewarding.
It was awesome. I mean, especially in the situations and, you know, the unfortunate things that were happening, we all pulled together, and we were winning a world medal for them. It wasn't just ourselves. So you felt so much more. It felt so much more just life. It was great.
Well, congratulations for that moment. You take a look at the American team waiting in the wings to march into the arena here in Aarhus. They were the top qualifier, the 8 teams that made this team qualification, and there are some parallels with this team as with the 2003 team because of the injury factor. Nastia Liukin, the 2-time world gold medalist from last year and the reigning silver medalist in the all-around in the World Championship. She's competing only in one event, the uneven bars, because of a badly sprained ankle a couple of weeks ago in training camp. So she will not be contributing as much to the team as she normally does. And the reigning world all-around champion, you see right there, Chelsea Memel. She sprained her ankle not long ago in training, and but she is one tough young lady, and she will be competing in the all-around here, and in fact did a terrific job in the qualifying round to help the U.S. team qualify #1 into today's team final competition. But every team is dealing with injuries. Even the #1 star of the Russian team, Yulia Lozechko, and 2 of her teammates, Irina Isayeva and Nadezhda Ivanova, Three of their stars are not here because, not competing today because they had some injuries. And Lojesko broke her fingers the other day just before the podium training, and so she's the top performer for the Russian team, and she's not competing. So this year, these World Championships in mid-Olympic cycle, a little bit different format and a different perspective for the teams. A lot of new things this year. We're dealing with a new format of competition, new rules completely, and sort of mid-Olympic cycle. So it's hard to draw too many conclusions as to what we're going to see in the Beijing Olympics from what we're seeing here, but this does give you a glimpse of the state of the depth of the programs, and in that regard, the United States program for the women is looking extremely strong.
They're looking awesome. I mean, it's so good for me too. Looking back, you know, I did the national team thing, and now I'm in college, and it's so great to hear that the U.S. is doing so well, and you know they're going out and winning year after year. It's awesome. And you see the growth and the talent coming up from the junior level to the senior level year after year, and there's so much potential.
You see the three young ladies marching out to prepare to vault in this team final competition. As I mentioned, the team is 6 young ladies, but 3 go up, and all 3 scores count. So you see the 3 women who will compete for the U.S. on the vault. This is what they call the one-touch warm-up period. Everybody gets essentially 30 seconds to touch the apparatus, get feel for the lighting, the atmosphere in the arena, and get their final preparations for competition.
In this rotation, we welcome on both United States of America.
The top 8 teams that we will be seeing today based on their qualifying rounds. United States qualified top with about a 4-point lead over China, the second qualifier. Ukraine was about 4 points behind China in 3rd place. Then Russia, just a little less than a couple of tenths of a point behind Ukraine. Romania followed. The many-time world team champion Romania qualified in 5th here. They have a completely new team. Only one returning former world championship team member competing for them. Australia qualified in 6th, Brazil 7th, and Spain 8th. One of the big disappointments was Italy. They have a incredible young team and a young lady named Vanessa Ferrari, who we'll see in the all-around competition. She is spectacular, but unfortunately the Italian team was in 9th place in the qualifying round and did not make it to today's team final.
First gymnast on the floor is Danielle Hippolito.
This is essentially a 4-ring circus. All 4 women's apparatus going simultaneously. We go now to the floor. Danielle Hippolito of Brazil.
Awesome combination pass there. Nice double twist with a good landing.
Gymnastics fans will know Danielle, of course. The first Brazilian gymnast to win a medal. Won a silver medal in 2001 in the World Championships in Ghent, Belgium. She's a 2-time Olympian at just 22 years of age. Lives and trains in Rio de Janeiro. Last year's World Championships in Australia, she was 9th place in the all-around.
Third pass at 2.5, punch front tuck.
Hard to believe at just 22 years of age. Excuse me. This is her 6th World Championships.
6.
That's sick.
That's crazy.
Good for her.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Her younger brother Diego is the world champion on the floor from last year in Melbourne, Australia.
Double pike to finish the routine. A little low in the landing, but nice solid routine.
Brazil very strong typically in the floor.
It's a little different to see Daniela's choreography. Usually she's known for a real high-pitched, maybe techno-style floor music, and this time she had a little toned-down, little classical, cutesy style.
The top scoring team in the qualifying on the floor was the United States. Second place was Brazil, and we'll see some of their other superstars on the floor a little bit later. There is the reigning world all-around champion, Chelsea Memel from the United States. She is one complete gymnast. High level of difficulty on all the events. As I mentioned, the American team, even though they have struggled with some injuries, and you can see there her left ankle heavily taped because of an injury that she suffered in training camp in Europe. But she was a part of the historic American women's performance last year in the World Championships, where the U.S. women won 9 out of the 15 medals at the World Championships in Melbourne, Australia. She's the reigning world all-around champion. They won 4 out of 5 golds. It was just about as good as it can get for the American women last year, wasn't it, Tasha?
Most definitely. And if you want anyone on your team, you want this girl, Chelsea Memel. She's tough as nails, awesome competitor, wants to go out there and win. And not just win, but dominate.
5 times the American women have won medals at World Championship team competition. Only once the gold, and that was 2003.
Yurchenko double twist, very nice distance and height. See, there are a little separation in the legs, but from the judges' point of view where they are, it's really hard for them to see her legs from that angle. I presume she's going to get a really nice score on this fall.
We're talking about a completely new scoring system then at last year's World Championships. We'll discuss that in great detail over the next several days here on WCSN. The gymnastics in many ways is the same. The way you calculate and score and tabulate the final results is completely different. Jana Bieger now for the United States. Oh! That was a shock. Didn't expect that.
Not at all. Jana's very powerful gymnast. You see here, when she comes onto the horse, on the back handspring, a little low and doesn't get the amplitude off the horse that she needs. That usually stems from the round off. And there's a domino effect as to why she didn't get the amplitude she needed to perform the 1.5 height. Really disappointing for her. Unfortunate start for Jana Bieger.
13.950. 5.5 is the difficulty value for that vault, the Yurchenko 1.5 twist. The one that Chelsea Memel performed before her, the double twister, is worth a 5.8. Much like last year's scoring system, all of the vaults have a start value associated with them. And yet the numbers that we're seeing this year are completely different. It's very hard to sort of translate what is a 14.5 and what is a 16.2 and what does it all mean. But for the gymnasts, the coaches, and the judges, everyone is really adjusting to this completely new scoring system where no longer is the perfect 10. Possible scores are what they call open-ended. So we'll be seeing winning routines that'll score in the 15s, 16s. It's a little strange to get used to after all these years of knowing the perfect 10 was what everybody was shooting for.
Very strange, but as all us gymnasts are taught, we're not looking at the score, we're concentrating on the performance part.
Very good. Except you do happen to see it.
Right.
Well, the interesting thing about it is that for the gymnasts, many of them modified their routines only slightly to accommodate the new rules. There are a lot of details that unfortunately fall on the hands of the judges. There's a lot of calculation, a lot of math going on in the sidelines because there are essentially 2 panels of judges. The A panel, they add up the top 10 difficulty values in the routine. 9 skills plus the dismount. Every skill has a certain point value associated with it. Then they look for element group requirements. Each of those are worth half a point. And then they look for connection bonus. All that is added up, and that's what they call the A panel score. Then the 6 judges who are judging the B panel the high and low are thrown out. The 4 scores are average. They have a maximum of 10 points with which to discuss and deduct from artistry, execution, composition, and things like that. So a good score these days might be in the A panel somewhere between about 5 points and 7 points, and the B panel between 9 points and 10 points. So that's why we're seeing scores in the range of 14, 15, 16 points as the leaders here at these World Championships. I know it's complicated, but we're all trying to get used to this new system. Oh!
Beautiful Stalter work.
Ukraine qualified in 3rd place coming into today's team finals. They were 4th, just missed the medals at the Olympics in Athens 2004.
You see this gymnast has great lines on bars. Her toe points, immaculate. Just a few leg separations, but with this gymnast, looks like it's going to come with time.
Daria Skboda, she was in the World Championships in 2005 in Melbourne, did not make any of the finals. Typically for the Ukrainian team, they're well known for their polish, technique, and clean execution.
Nice double front dismount.
There is Alicia Sacramone from the United States. Bronze medalist in the World Championships on the vault, 2005, and the reigning world champion on the floor. Boy, she is fun to watch. Just about everything she does just floats off the ceiling, doesn't it?
Yes, Alicia's a tough little cookie, and she's exciting to watch. So much charisma and personality on the floor. You gotta love her. Front handspring Rudy, which is a laid out 1.5 twists.
Not bad in a clutch performance after the mistake from Jana Beeger. U.S. needed a good vault here.
It's an extremely difficult vault. You'll see few girls in the world compete this vault.
DNA dos Santos now from Brazil. Could be a highlight of the day. She is a lot of fun on the floor. Wow.
She is known literally to have springs in her legs. I've seen her compete so many times where she lands her passes and doesn't even have control because she's springing out of them.
She's the first Brazilian to ever win a world championship. She won it on the floor at the Worlds in 2003 in Anaheim. And boy, down there at the Anaheim Pond, she just lit up the place with her powerful tumbling and her expressive dance.
I was at that World Championship sitting on the sidelines, Bart, thinking, if I had 1/10 of her legs, what the things I could do.
Look at that. Double layout, late in the routine.
Her dance has really come a long way. A couple years ago it was a little choppy, and now it's really pretty to watch.
Brazil qualified 7th into this team final, in many ways considered a long shot for a medal here, but they are the oldest and most experienced team in these finals. The average age of this team is 19 years of age. Hard to believe that's the oldest team here, 19 years old. DNA dos Santos. Chelsea Memmel's score on the vault of 15.075. Romania, traditionally the best in the world on beam, opens the competition on beam. This is Sandra Ijbasa. Romania qualified 5th into today's team final.
That was a front aerial to a back handspring step out, very clean. The judges in that combination sequence are really looking for the smooth transition from one skill to another. She did it well.
Qualified to the finals for the balance beam here later this week in Aarhus. 3rd highest score in qualifying, 15.55. A lot of transition in the Romanian program in the last year. The traditional head coaches Octavian Belu and Mariana Bitang retired from competition, from completely coaching the national team, and they work for the president of Romania doing special events. So the new head coach of Romania is a guy named Nicolae Forminte, who has a very young, talented, but somewhat inexperienced team here in Aarhus. Only one person with any world championship experience, and that's Floria Leonida.
Triple twist on the dismount. Completed it pretty good. That dismount's extremely hard to get 3 twists around, especially off the balance beam. Okay, they're up close. You see a little short on the triple twist, but nice solid routine.
We'll be talking a lot about the new rules, and if a gymnast doesn't completely make the twist, the judges are not supposed to give them full difficulty value to deduct 1 letter value of the skill. 15.575 for Sacramone. A good clutch performance after the unfortunate mistake for Jana Bieger. Now, as the athletes rotate to their next performance, this is on tape. Ukraine's performer on the uneven bars, Krasnianskaya. Oh,
well, that's really cool. Beautiful clean lines. Got a little, She just did a transition from low bar to high bar. And you need to get a lot of amplitude, but if you catch too close to the high bar, you don't have enough swing to finish that kip out. And that's what happened. Shot up a little too early, got a little too close to the high bar, and had no momentum.
The last World Championships team competition in Anaheim, they were 7th in the team. And unfortunately, the Ukrainian team, known for its technique, beautiful style, and execution, but they have had a history of making mistakes and some inconsistencies, and that showed up here, unfortunately, with Krasnianskaya.
That's unfortunate because her lines were clean. She had a signature skill that you're probably not going to see anyone else in the world compete, and that's tough.
DNA dos Santos, 15.025 for Brazil, starting on one of their best events. In fact, they were the 2nd highest team in the qualifying rounds on the floor, even though they qualified just in 7th place into today's team final. The team from Spain qualified in 8th place, the final qualifier, Thais Escolar. Spain was 6th at the Olympics in Athens, Greece, and 5th at the most recent World Championships back in 2003.
She opens up with a nice piked full in.
Thais is the youngest member of this Spanish team. She's just 16, from Barcelona. But she has had some success at the European Championships. The Spanish team was 4th this year, and
Beautiful,
she was a finalist on floor.
You can see Thais has definitely had some dance training. Nice double back with a full twist for her second pass. Great landing. It's really nice to see a gymnast like Thais one with a lot of power and amplitude on her tumbling and beautiful dance. And a lot of times it's hard to come by. Either you have a great gymnast with a lot of power, and they're usually lacking in the dance department. You can see, obviously, ballet training has really been a priority for her.
Spain grabbed the final qualifying spot into this team final, just edging out Italy. Italy reigning European champions, and they didn't even make it to this final. They have had some injuries on their team as well.
Ended with a nice double pike. See a big hop out of that. Not sure how the judges are going to handle that, but all in all, I thought it was a beautiful routine.
We're not sure how the judges are going to handle anything these days. The way this very complicated scoring system is, I think it weeded out many of these sort of less committed judges, because you really have to know what you're doing to judge gymnastics these days and really be focused. Daria Jura now from Australia on the beam. Isn't that nice?
This is an awesome skill. Don't see too many of those. It's like an aerial. She brings her legs together, does it laid out, and lands on 2 feet. That's another signature skill. Series of a back handspring step out, back tuck.
One of their superstars is out also with an injury, Monette Rousseau, and the Commonwealth Games champion Chloe Sims. Both of those young ladies not competing here for Australia.
There she just did a front aerial to a side flip, and it looks as though she was supposed to connect it and stop. So there, the bonus she was probably trying to get, she wasn't going to get that. But with the new code of points, I'm sure you could get bonus for individual skills.
Reigning all-around champion from Australia. She's just 16. That name Jura, of course, is a Russian name. She moved in 1997 with her father, who was a gymnastics coach, to Australia and now competes for her new home country of Australia. There is Peggy Liddick, coach of American Shannon Miller, who has now taken over the reins at the national team in Australia.
There we saw 1.5 Yurchenko.
Chinese team, second qualifiers into the team final today. Expected to contend for the gold medal. Zhuoru, 14.45 for that 1.5 twisting Yurchenko. The score for Thais Escolar. It's really hard to get a sense of what these scores mean, isn't it?
Very hard. I'm looking at them, I'm like, 15, okay?
Good?
Yeah.
Well, you know, we're so used to, we kind of know if there's a 10 is perfection, so you know relative to 10 what you're looking at, a 9.8, a 9.9, a 9.7. But with this open-ended scoring, you know, you're looking at scores between about 14.5 and 16.5 as great scores. It's hard to get a sense for really what they mean in this new transition period into this new scoring system. Well, we could be in for a highlight here. Chung Fei was a member of their Olympic team in 2004. She was a 4th place on the vault. In fact, she has a vault named after her. She is the overwhelming favorite to win vaulting at these World Championships. She won vault last year in Melbourne, Australia. She's 18 years of age. From Huangxi, China. Lives in Beijing and trains at their national training center there. We talked in the men's team competition yesterday about the quality of the Chinese men's team. They were very inconsistent and yet still good enough to win the team competition. The Chinese women can't afford too many mistakes if they hope to come out on top today, because the American team has looked quite good in qualifying. Here we go.
Yurchenko, 2.5 twists.
Isn't that something?
Excellent.
Well, she kind of waits long to twist, to have the guts to do it that
Well,
way.
when you have the kind of power that she has, you can wait and twist and still do an amazing vault. We are not going to see very many of those around the world.
She's the first Chinese woman to win a world title on vault. And she has another vault that she performs in the individual competition that's named after her. We'll see her later on this week. In the finals, they're from Aarhus.
Nice handstand. That's very significant as far as the judges' eyes. A gymnast hitting her handstands, because handstands are the easiest deduction to the human eye that they can see.
And the B panel, oh my goodness. The B panel judges are supposed to be very strict on those deductions. If they miss the handstands, the deductions can be severe. One other change with the new rules is a fall from the apparatus. Used to be a 0.5 point deduction. Now it's an 0.8 of a point deduction. And in the case of her fall there, she was doing it on a move, a transition from the high bar to the low bar. So she'll also lose another 0.5 point for not fulfilling that requirement unless she does it again somewhere else in the routine before she completes it. So a fall on an element group requirement is a minimum of 1.3 deduction. That's huge.
Though that's crucial.
Russia qualified in 4th place into today's team final. Pravdina is just 15, the youngest member of their team.
Nice stuck landing on our double pike dismount.
Patricia Moreno now from Spain, ready to take to the floor.
It's a whip to a piked full in. Oh.
Expect a big deduction for falling out of bounds completely.
Triple full, little hop on the landing.
We've come to expect great things from her. She won the bronze medal at the Olympics in Athens just a couple of years ago. First Spanish woman to win an Olympic medal in artistic gymnastics ever.
Her third pass with a 2.5 punch front layout. Nice landing. Landings seem to be very crucial these days, especially when you get into the finals. You know, everyone's going to do around the same passes, but it's the landings and the finesse of the landings that will really separate first and second place. Fourth pass ends with a double pike. A little short on the landing. You can see she had to take a hop up.
Typically, the judges deduct more when you under-rotate a skill and step forward than when you over-rotate a skill and step backward. Well, not exactly what Spain expected to do on the floor, that's for sure. Olympic medalist Moreno not at her best. Paulina Miller for Russia will be on the bars next, and we already saw a fall there. Russia, the average age of these gymnasts is 23 years of age. That's pretty remarkable. Of course, they have some veterans on the team, including Elena Zamolochikova.
Are you hinting to me that I'm going to make a comeback?
Just throwing it out there.
21.
Throwing it out there. Paulina Miller is 17. Oh, nice combination from St. Petersburg, Russia. This is her best event.
Nice pack salto. That's the same skill her teammate attempted to perform, but as you see, she caught the bar in a nice handstand. That was what she was supposed to do. Nice full twisting double back for the dismount with a great stick.
So far, all of the top teams have had at least one mistake in this first rotation. The Americans had a mistake on the vault. We saw from Spain. Russia had a mistake on the bar. So in team competition, 3 up, 3 count, an additional level of pressure. No buffer as there is in the qualifying rounds.
Yeah, Bart, just being out there and for myself having to compete under those rules, you go from the first day of competition when you can't have 5 up, 6 up, 5 scores, and then you drop one to end up having 4 scores count.
Right.
And you go to the next day of competition when you have 3 up, 3 count. You feel like a weight has been placed on your shoulders. The stress level goes up tremendously.
Yeah, it's really a different mindset. Some people think that sometimes the 3 up, 3 count favors teams who do less spectacular gymnastics but hit well. It's hard to say. One of the things I like about 3 up, 3 count, and I didn't think I'd ever say this, is that there is some parity. Because if you are, in the books, the #1 team on paper, it doesn't matter. If you don't hit, you don't win. And that makes it more like other major sports in the world. You can be the best basketball team in the world on paper, but if you don't hit, you don't win the game.
Right.
And so that creates some parity in gymnastics competition that hasn't been there for many years.
Well, it really highlights the team that stays consistent most of the time. You see a lot of those teams when we didn't have the 3 up, 3 count rule, and they'd come out with a win, because they got to drop a few scores, but now everyone counts, so puts a lot of pressure on the gymnasts.
Karen Nguyen, the 19-year-old from Melbourne, Australia, surprise addition to the 2004 Olympics in Athens. Got a late call to fly over to Greece and get ready to compete because one of her teammates was injured. She didn't even have a passport. Had to scramble around and get a passport just to get there in time. She placed 8th with the Australian team at those games.
Double back dismount. Very short in the landing. You can see, again, that stems from the round-off, the hurdle, the round-off. She didn't get a great punch off the beam, which didn't allow her to get the 2 flips around and, took a two hops forward. It's going to be a big deduction for that dismount.
That concludes this rotation. Gymnasts, please proceed to the next apparatus.
The athletes march to the second of 4 rotations here. The score for Patricia Moreno, a very disappointing 13.3 for that floor exercise performance. So we will get a quick update on the team scores shortly.
Bart, although Spain didn't do as what they expected to do, I'm very impressed with their dance. I really am. I mean, their turns were great. Their leaps were great. You can see they've definitely focused a lot on that. And again, that's another thing that could separate teams. I know there's a artistry deduction in there, that either can help you or hurt you. And with a team that focuses on their dance, that'll definitely help them.
Well, it's a good point. When you look at the way the rules are now, about 5 to 7 points of the score is related to the difficulty value of the routine. And as much as 10 points is related to the execution value. So theoretically, if you do the skills you do and do them well with perfect execution, you can get a very high score. That's easier said than done. But by that logic, clean execution should count for a lot because it is, these days, it was more than half the score, nearly 2/3 of the score, and that will be a key. The second rotation, the teams flip-flop competitive order internally, so Spain will be the first to vault. China will be on the bars first. Russia will open up on beam. Australia will be on the floor. The top teams, based on their qualifying scores, get what they call the Olympic order, which is the preferred order with which to compete. If you are a top team, you get to start on vault, then go to bars, beam, and floor. Did you have a preference, Tasha, on what order you competed?
I never had a preference. To me, it didn't matter. I had to compete all 4 events anyway. I know generally a team doesn't really like to start or end on the balance beam.
Right.
Especially end, because the last event, you are closing out the meet, finishing out the meet, and a lot of meets determine who stays on the beam and who stays on the beam well. And when you're seeing the score and who's first, second, and third, and you have one more event left, and beam's up next, you just feel that little added pressure because beam is obviously the easiest event to make a mistake on.
Getting caught up on the scores, you saw the vault score there for Chung Fei. Not expected, very high. Not unexpected. This is what they call the one-touch warm-up. Every athlete has approximately 30 seconds with which to touch the apparatus. Here are the teams standing so far. Romania, with a lead of about 6/10 over the U.S. China, Brazil, based on those strong floor performances, Ukraine, Australia, Russia, with a weak performance on the uneven bars, and Spain is in 8th. So Romania, as can be expected, starting on traditionally their best event, the balance beam. They were solid there, and they have the lead. There is a 15.275 for Chung Fei, the reigning world champion on the vault. Russia now to the balance beam. After a disappointing start on the bars, a little added pressure on the clutch event beam.
See her front aerial? Little different style. She actually lands with 2 legs. It's normally landed with 1 leg. The Russians are definitely known for doing signature skills on balance beam in the bars. Skills that makes a gymnast famous for, just her doing it.
Talk about sort of the transition in gymnastics programs. The head coach for many years of the Russian system, Leonid Arkayev, has moved to Korea. He works with the South Korean team now. So Andrei Rodionenko, who was formerly a coach in the former Soviet Union, who traveled around the world, moved to Australia, then Canada, has returned to Russia last year to help revitalize the program. So the Russians look to be on a resurgence because they have the passion, the technique, and the intensity of Rodionenko's training system. They were 3rd at the European Championships this year. Oh!
Double back dismount. See, she's short in the landing as well. It's that punch at the end. Just being a gymnast up there, when you do your dismounts alone, round double back, it seems so easy. You add the endurance factor in there, and sometimes at the end of a beam routine, you're a little tired, and your judgment is off whether to punch and pull hard with your legs, because the landing you're worried about over-rotating, under-rotating. Sometimes it's hard to gauge where you are.
Georgia Bonora now, the 16-year-old from Melbourne, Australia. This is her favorite event, the floor. 3rd place in the Australian Championships this year on this event.
Opens up with a nice full in, beautiful landing.
I mentioned earlier that Peggy Liddick, former American coach of Shannon Miller, moved to Australia. It's been 10 years now since she's been down there. Back in 1997 was when she got involved with their program and has made an enormous contribution. She and several Russian and Chinese coaches moved to Australia, and their program is quite good. But Peggy Liddick is definitely the boss. Their historic bronze medal in the team championships 2003 was a great moment for Australia.
See a 3rd pass of a 1.5 step out, round back handspring double full. passes like that weren't often seen in the old code because that wasn't bonus. But in the new code, doing a backflipping pass into a combination pass will give you bonus. So similar to the guys' gymnastics, how the guys transitioned, as we've seen in the past.
Right. It's one of those 5-element group requirements that the judges are looking for.
There's a replay of her third pass, the 1.5 step out to a double twist. A little sloppy in the air, but all in all, a solid routine.
Well, Zhuoru from China to the bars. Typically, the Chinese gymnasts own this event.
That's right. When you think of bars, China.
But they had some disastrous performances in the qualifying round. 2 misses. So we'll see if they can be consistent in today's team final, where consistency is what it's all about.
Nice pirouetting work. Chinese are known for their lines.
Oh.
Beautiful lines, toe point, and pirouetting.
One thing about the new code we are seeing is that the routines are slightly longer because it's more difficult to get bonus points or combinations. So the gymnasts have to do more individual high-level skills to get a high score. And this has been a mark of the Chinese program. The routines are long.
Yeah. I feel like bars has become an endurance contest.
She's just 18 years of age. Top all-arounder for China in the qualifications here. She was an alternate to the Olympic team in 2004. Pravdina on the beam for Russia, 15.075. Not a bad score. It's a little short of rotation on her dismount pass. Holly Dykes, one of the stars of the Australian team. Even Peggy Liddick mentioned this, probably not my team I'm taking to Beijing in China, but this is the team I have now to help me qualify through to next year's World Championships, which is the ultimate qualifier for the Olympics in Beijing 2008.
Opens with a nice piked full in. Seeing that a lot today. Again, another combination pass. 1.5 to a punch front. And that is a requirement, and that's why you see more simple passes like that being done.
Coaches would like to see a little more consistency out of her work.
Punch front full, it's another requirement. Beautiful turn combination.
There are essentially 5-element group requirements for each event in women's gymnastics: a dance pass, an acrobatic series, 2 saltos in different directions, saltos with double back or double twist type skills, and dismounts. Those are the 5-element groups judges are looking for.
Beautiful routine.
Holly Dykes out of Gold Coast, Australia. Her parents are Scottish. They moved in the 90s to Australia. And she is one of their stalwart performers. Ready now to perform on the beam for Russia. Hard to believe I'm saying that she's a veteran, Anna Pavlova, but she certainly is. 19 years of age.
Beautiful connection pass on the beam for an aerial to a side flip. You see she had a great transition in between. She should definitely get the bonus for that one.
We first saw her as a junior when she won the Junior European Championships in Paris, and very impressed with her balance as a gymnast. Seems to have all the qualities of greatness. She's coached by her mother, another gymnast here who's coached by a parent. That's not uncommon. It's sort of an in-the-family thing. Your mom was a gymnast, so you become a gymnast. Of course, your mom's a blackjack dealer in Vegas, isn't she?
She is, but she was a professional tennis player.
Okay.
So, you know, when I'm making my comeback, Bart, I mean, although she coaches tennis, you might have to help her out with a few things, but she's intense. That's really all I need is intensity.
Pavlova fourth in the all-around, the Olympics in 2004. Many gymnastics fans will remember her tears when she finished just out of the medal. She's a very sentimental favorite. She did get her bronze medal on the vault at the Olympics that year.
You see her nice and noti from the aerial angle. To a back handspring, layout, step out. You see she was a little off. That's the true test of a great beam worker, for one to be off and pull herself back on without a wobble.
(15.15) for Zhou Zhuoru on the bars. The Chinese athletes, whether they're winning or not, are always smiling, always waving, always having a good time. Although the coach looks a little uptight.
And you can't help to love little girls every time. They're always smiling and waving.
Here we go. Pan.
Beautiful Slalder. Pirouetting. Nice. Ginger, which is a major release. That was an interesting little combination you don't see.
Solid all-arounder, qualified 10th to the all-around final here. At a 15.125 on the bars in the prelims. Boy, the technique is just spectacular.
Yeah, Chinese definitely take the pirouetting skills to a whole new level. Nice solid routine.
They really are one of the few teams that finishes every skill right at the top, and that's critical, especially under the new code of points. How about that form?
Form's beautiful. See a couple gymnasts tonight having problems with the low bar to high bar transition. When that skill's performed correctly, you go up to the high bar, you catch, and you have huge momentum to go into the next skill. You see gymnasts tonight, a couple of them landing a little too close to the high bar and having difficulty with the kip cast, and that's where a judge can dig deduction because the routine seems choppy, broken up a little bit.
It's amazing with this Chinese team. They do like blow your mind difficulty, and then they're just sitting on the sideline having fun. Pretty casual. But the quality of their gymnastics, in particular on the beam and the bars, is unparalleled. And ironically, they have so many world-class gymnasts in China that next year at the World Championships, they might have a whole new team, completely new names, but they're all equally good.
Spin on vault. Yurchenko double twist, a little low, and you see she lands a little close to the horse. The judges can take a deduction for that because they're looking for distance.
Laura Campos, the 18-year-old from Madrid. Is a member of their World Championship team in 2003, where the Spanish team placed fifth. Her score 14.65. The judges did deduct for her being short of rotation and close to the horse there. Capacity crowd of 4,200 on hand here in Aarhus. as the women's team finals for the World Gymnastics Championships continue. My name is Bart Connor, and I'm proud to be bringing you this coverage along with Tasha Schweikert of the women's team finals here live, exclusively live on WCSN as part of our groundbreaking 18 hours of coverage, all week long, of world-class gymnastics.
That's tough to start a routine off with a fall. It's the risk you take when you start off with a mount of high difficulty.
Did you like to do a high difficulty mount or just get on and start to get...
I always did a high difficulty mount because I feel like in the past that's what everyone did, but now you see girls transitioning to easier mounts just to get on the beam and then come at you with a solid routine of high difficulty skills. For an aerial to a side flip, you see there she took a little bit too much time to do the connection, and it's up to the judges whether to give her or not to give her the connection bonus there. Beautiful aerial.
Olga Sherbatik is 18 years of age.
Nice switch leap with a half twist. That's a very difficult dance element. She just performed.
Her highest finish in World Championship competition was 6th at the 2005 Worlds on the vault. Not a bad finish there, but a huge mistake at the beginning will cost her a great deal. Danielle Hippolito to the vault. We saw Brazil off to a good start on the floor after the first of 4 rotations. Brazil currently in 4th place.
Yurchenko full. Very simple vaults. Now the start value is definitely not high on that one. It's very unfortunate when you do simple vaults like that because as perfect as you can do it, the judges probably aren't going to award you a high score because, one, they see other gymnasts competing vaults like that with another full twist, and 2, I mean, comparatively, it's just not stunning at all.
Daniela Druncia now from Romania. She resides in Deva, which is where their national training center is in the western regions of Romania. She comes originally from Buftea. Best event is the vault. She's the youngest member of this team. She's just 15. She won't turn 16 until November. And in order to compete in world-class competition, you have to turn 16 during the calendar year of that event to be eligible to compete.
That was a triple twist.
She was 4th in the all-around at the Romanian National Championships this year. Most of these athletes acknowledge that they may not even be the team that will go to Beijing, but they're here to try to qualify the Romanian team onward. A lot of talented juniors because, as I said, Romania is going through a big transition right now. Many of these athletes are unproven at best. One of the biggest stars of the sport from Romania, Catalina Ponor, three-time Olympic gold medalist from Athens, has recently retired from the sport. And so there's a whole new crop of talented kids coming up through the Romanian program now. 14.35. Not spectacular, but consistent score for Romania. And consistency is the key in the team finals here. Saw the Chinese athletes on the bars. Now it's time for the Americans. And Chelsea Memel. How'd you like to have Chelsea Memel up first on the bars? World medalist, former world champion. She was a co-world champion in 2003 on the uneven bars. I've always appreciated her originality. She does some really cool skills and combinations.
I agree. And the thing I'm very impressed with is that you would expect a girl like Chelsea, who has won so many medals on the bars, be, you know, the anchor man on your team. But with her personality, she is okay to go up anywhere. Coach, put me in anywhere, and I'll get the job done. And that's what I love about this girl.
She's 18 years of age, from West Allis, Wisconsin, coached by her father, Andy Memel now. For many years was coached by Jim Chudy. Oh! That's a shot. You do not expect to see her miss.
No, no. Chelsea rarely misses. It was a huge combination. Sometimes if you go too big, you can risk to take a fall like that. It's tough.
I mentioned she had an ankle injury, obviously not affecting her there, but that's an uncharacteristic mistake, and she's crooked on that full pirouette.
She's definitely not in her groove right now. Nice dismount.
Fascinating story about Chelsea is that she was a member of the Pan Am team, wasn't expected to be on that 2003 World Championship team. Let's take a look at what happened.
You see she does a Hindorf. You see where her toes are pointed. From aerial angle, they are on the bottom side half of the screen of the bar. They should be equal with the bar, or even on the top half of the screen, or her to catch the bar. It's the little technical things that make such a big difference whether you catch the equipment or you're on the floor.
Typically a rock in competition. Chelsea Memel, a disappointment there for the Americans. So they've had 2 falls already in this 3-up, 3-count performance. The American women favorites to win the gold here coming into today's World Championship team competition. Qualified in first place. Have a very experienced and successful team. Jana Bieger made a mistake, unfortunately, on the vault, sitting that down, and now the reigning world all-around champion Chelsea Memel a fall from the bars. Not what the American women expected. It's all relative in this competition, as we saw from the Chinese men yesterday. They made some mistakes, but so did their closest competitors, Japan and Russia. So you can afford a mistake here or there, but a disastrous performance will keep you off the podium for sure.
And like you said earlier, Bart, it just may come down to the teams with more simple gymnastics, but more consistency.
'18-year-old Irina Krasnianska. Wow, nice.
Round off layout.
So high.
Completely straight body. That's exactly what the judges are looking for.
Placed 7th on the beam at the World Championships in 2003 in Anaheim.
Nice punch front there.
She was a member of the Olympic team in 2004 as well.
It's a very, very difficult dance skill. It's a switch leap, but she actually throws her head back. And that's where the difficulty level goes up in that skill. Dance is quite critical on beam because although to the public she's not flipping, so it doesn't seem like a hard skill, but a skill like that is actually a lot harder than some of the flips and twists that she'll perform.
Especially when you lay the head back and have to look away from the beam. Just barely pulled around that pike double.
Yeah, little low. Like I said, at the end of a beam routine, it's sometimes hard to gauge how hard to push and punch on your dismount.
14.475. Disappointment for Chelsea Memel. The reigning world uneven bars champion is next. This is Nastia Liukin, expected to compete here in the all-around. Had a sprained ankle in the training camp, and so she is only competing on this one event, the bars, her best event. She was the top qualifier a couple of days ago in the qualifying session with a 16.2. Nastia Liukin.
Beautiful Tkachev. Stalder. Nice combination. We're seeing spurts of Chinese bars here. Usually the Americans, when they do pirouetting, don't really flare their arms. Nastia did. Beautiful pack. Getting set up for the dismount here. Double layout, took a few steps in the landing.
You saw a little awkwardness on that landing. That is that sprained ankle that you could tell she was clearly favoring. Didn't quite stick it like she normally does. Typically, when you have a sprained ankle, you're working on soft surfaces in all the training, and you really don't make a landing on the hard surface until you have to, like competition time, and sometimes the landing is slightly awkward as a result of that.
Being in that position, you know, it's hard for Nastia to make a decision. Do I take a landing, a stick, and maybe further injure my ankle, or do I risk a step and know that my ankle will be okay maybe for future competition?
Nastia Liukin will get a good score. Chelsea Memel, we mentioned 14.475. In prelim, she had a 15.825, so a 1.4 drop just in that one performance for the U.S. Zbasha now, Romania on the floor.
Beautiful combination pass. Full in for the second pass. Most consistent landings we've seen so far.
This is pretty traditional with the Romanian team. They typically do what they do and do it well. They rarely take unnecessary risks, but they're very smart competitors, and they realize consistency is critical, so they only perform skills that they have mastered. So you rarely see a mistake from the Romanian team.
Third pass, a 2.5 punch front with a 1.5 twist.
That's nice.
Beautiful.
She stayed in bounds too. You'll get a kick out of this. Her nickname is Oscar because she wants to be a star.
Under last pass. Beautiful triple full with a stick.
The reigning European champion on the floor, Sandra Izbasha of Romania, scored a 15.05 in the qualifying round. Expect a high score here as well. 15.425 is Basha. Those the athletes march to the next rotation and do their one-touch warm-up. We are at the halfway point in this competition. All teams have done 2 performances. Now on tape, Laís Souza of Brazil.
Yurchenko double twist. Great distance and amplitude. Just a little hop in the landing. More recently, the Yurchenko double twist has become more of a standard vault. And it comes down to the distance, the amplitude, and really the stick on this vault.
We'll see more from Lais Souza later in the week. Here we go. United States, even with the mistake for Chelsea Mimmel on the bars, is in first. China is second by about 0.3 of a point. Romania just 1/10 of a point behind them. Ukraine is fourth. Russia, Brazil, Australia, and Spain. So the Americans have had 2 falls, and yet at this point they are deep enough to still hang on to a slight lead over China. Well, just like nearly every other competition, it's going to come down to who stays on the beam.
That's right.
You've been there, Tasha. How do you like that?
I've been there, and the beam is definitely the most stressful for a gymnast. You go to vault and floor and bars, and you don't really, you're pretty confident you're staying in the event. And beam, you're confident, but not as confident as the other 3 events, that's for sure.
Alicia Sacramone.
Alicia mounts with a very difficult mount and nailed it. Alicia's very dynamic and powerful on balance beam.
Sometimes almost too much so. Typically, these very springy gymnasts tend to spring off the beam.
Beautiful front flip.
How do you find that combination of, in basketball they call it soft hands around the basket. Is there a sense of soft feet on the beam, that you have explosiveness and yet you have soft feet to absorb landings well?
Definitely. You go into your skill with aggression, as much aggression as you can. And when you land, it's almost like landing like a cat. You got to be real soft. You got to absorb the beam. And with the more typical springy gymnasts, sometimes it's really hard for them to absorb the balance beam, and really you need a moment of calmness.
Going up first for the team, an additional level of pressure, because you have to set the stage for the other performers, and if you make a mistake, it just loads up more pressure on the rest of your team. Sacramone, good start here for the Americans, and they needed it.
A handspring double pike dismount. That's a very hard dismount. She's going to get combination for that. Combination bonus for that. Great landing. And her style on beam is very admirable. She moves quick with a nice tempo.
U.S. had a couple of mistakes in the qualifying round on the beam, so added pressure for sure today. Romania, Druncha. One of the most storied programs in women's gymnastics. 14 world team medals, 7 of them gold. Oh.
Chenko double twist.
That's a little vault from a little girl.
Yes, it is. What I'm wondering is,
wow.
I wonder how she even makes it onto the horse in the beginning.
She really
of it.
almost missed the vault table altogether.
Now you see there, her punch was a little weak. And especially for a little girl like her, she's going to need extra punch to get up to the horse just to even begin her vault.
She is the youngest member of that team, just 15. Daniela Druncha, 4th in the all-around in the Romanian National Championships this year. To the bars, from Brazil, Diane dos Santos. Former world champion on the floor. See what she can come up with here.
You see her, she has a nice dynamic routine, but she's missing a lot of the handstands. And her pirouetting, you see how when she finishes the pirouette, she's not in a handstand, and she is probably even over 10% off. 10 degrees off. And if you're off 10 degrees or more, the judges have the option of not giving you the skill at all.
And the judges are what they call the B panel. The execution judges are very, very strict on those moves that do not hit a near handstand. Those pirouetting skills that go past the top.
Right. You see there, she was about 45 degrees off from handstand. And so with now the 2 panels of judges, 1 panel only concentrating on execution, that's that might be costly for her.
You not only do not get the full value of the skill that you did, it gets devalued, and then you also get an execution deduction for being past the handstand. Steliana Nistor next up for Romania on the floor. Excuse me, the vault. She's 17, originally from Sibiu. She missed the 2005 season completely with an injury.
Yurchenko double twist. Nice distance, but you see in the air, her legs are actually bent, which is something that the judges can see, and they will take a deduction on. See here, bends him a little bit. Comes on a little sloppy. And we're to the beam.
Jana Bieger. We saw her struggle on the vault in the first rotation.
That's a very difficult skill. It was a punch front with a half twist. Skills like that, when you're twisting in midair, are very risky, but yet if you make them, very impressive. Jana's a very powerful gymnast and does dynamic gymnastics.
In the qualifying rounds, the U.S. team was the top scoring team on vault, bars, and floor. Only the fourth highest scoring team on the beam after some falls and shaky performances. Bieger's very aggressive here.
Very. Jana was just coming up when I was exiting the elite scene, and that's one thing I noticed about her. Like, man, this girl's powerful, aggressive.
She's 16 years of age. She'll turn 17 on the 12th of November. Happens to be the birthday of another famous gymnast I'm familiar with, Nadia Comaneci, my wife. The 12th of November. A good day for world-class gymnasts, and a nice double front off.
Very beautiful double front dismount.
Clutch performance for the U.S.'s Jana Bieger.
They're really taking beam seriously.
She's coached by her mother, Andrea Bieger, who is a former gymnast from West Germany. There we go. Everybody happy with that one. They live down in Florida. The club is called Boca Twisters. So 2 routines for the Americans, solid on the beam. This is a critical event if they hope to hang on to that first place. Sherbatik now from Ukraine on the floor.
Togo opens up with a pike full in.
Oh.
Huge bounce back on the landing and actually went out of bounds. It's going to be a deduction for her. For handspring, oh no.
Oh, big deduction for going completely out of bounds. Another 0.3 of a point at least for that.
We'll has some fun choreography here and some upbeat music. 2.5 twist, punch front pike, a little low. You want to see a gymnast do that with some amplitude and distance. Looked like she whipped it a little bit too much, and that's a result of her actually leaning her shoulders back when she punches to perform the 2.5 twists. Setting up for her last pass. Double pike. Nice landing. Chelsea Mello here on the balance beam. Again, this is one of her events, or clutch events, that she's known for.
Interesting to see how she'll recover from an uncharacteristic mistake on the bars. This is a critical performance for the American women today because their final routine, the floor, they're very strong. So they need a solid performance here from the reigning world all-around champion Chelsea Memel on the beam, if they hope to win the team gold medal today.
Chelsea comes front with a half twist.
Boy, she is courageous. There's nothing about her makeup that says hold back, is there?
Nothing. And her mindset and everything, she wants to go out with a bang. She does everything to the fullest. Every hard skill in the book, Chelsea Memel does or wants to do.
Look at that, standing
Amazing.
Arabian. You look at the intensity in her face. There is a resolve and an aggressiveness. It's almost like she's a little bit mad from the uneven bars and that she's using that energy to focus here for the beam.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
That is the true test of a competitor right there. She had every chance in the world to fall off the beam. One leg drops.
Unbelievable.
And still uses her strength to keep her on the beam without a wobble. That's amazing.
That really is a statement about this young lady's personal resolve. When your foot completely slips off the beam and yet she manages to grit it out. Chelsea Memel for the United States. A huge clutch performance. Avoided a major deduction for a fall by just sheer gutting it out.
And it's routines like that judges actually have sympathy for. I mean, you see a girl here and, you know, they're judging and they want to take the deduction, but we all are human and they're looking at her saying, wow, like, she's not giving up.
It's a good point. All of these judges were former gymnasts. They know what kind of courage it takes to do. That's incredible. From that front somersault, completely slipping off with the right foot and not falling. Chelsea Memel, critical performance for the U.S.
Yurchenko double twist, nicely done with a great landing. That puts an exclamation point on the vault. It might actually give the gymnast a higher score than she deserves because she does stick. But we see right here in the air, especially from the aerial view, nice lines, nice vault. Comes onto the horse straight. Her legs are together.
And a good score for Izbasha, 15.225. The first two vaulters from Romania were rather mediocre, but this one was outstanding for Sandra Izbasha. We are midway through the third of four rotations in this women's team championship. Australia now takes to the vault. This is the warm-up session. Every athlete gets essentially a one-touch warm-up. Some competitions are different. If they actually have a full setup warm-up gym, the gymnasts march back and forth, so they do their warm-up in the warm-up hall and then come out and only compete on the apparatus. In this case, in Denmark, with just one full, complete setup of gymnastics equipment on the floor, they have this one touch during the competition. That one touch is critical. I'm a big fan of keeping it. There's some gymnastics officials that want to keep the warm-ups back in the warm-up gym. I like this part of it.
Yeah, going through it, I definitely agree that it should be kept. You want to freshen up on your skills right before you compete them. As far as having the gym in the back or warming up on doing your 30-second on the equipment you're going to compete on, I'm torn on that because in the back, although it's the same setup of equipment, it's not on podium. Right. It's usually on concrete, which changes the bounce and spring of the event. But usually in the back gym, you can take as many turns as you want for the most part. You know, they leave it more open.
Right.
And when you're out on the podium warming up for your 30 seconds, there's a time frame, and they really keep you to that time frame. And so, you know, it's like, do you want to warm up on the same equipment you're competing and keep the time frame, or do you want to have all the warm-up you can on concrete?
It really is a trade-off. Yeah.
Definitely.
But one of the most important things is safety, and I believe it's safer that you're warming up on the equipment that you'll be competing on, because you just say, on top of this 4-foot raised podium, all the equipment takes on a little bit different dynamics. A little springier, a little bouncier.
The floor is the most the event where it's a significant difference as far as whether it's on concrete or it's on a podium. Here we see another Yurchenko full. Very simple vault. Now for me watching, it's hard for me to think, like, why are people competing Yurchenko fulls? I highly doubt you'll see that in the Olympics. But right now for the World Championships, in a mid-year, we'll see that. Because like Bart said earlier, you know, a lot of coaches are thinking this is not exactly my Olympic team, but it is my team to take on the journey to get to the Olympics.
And in the team final, consistency is critical, so why go for a slightly riskier vault, which only has a slightly higher start value, and risk a major fall?
Exactly, and like you said, consistency is critical. Spain on bars. Shorten a lot of handstands. Technically a little bit too archy and pikey. The body shapes, you see a big difference from this Spain gymnast and the Chinese, where the Chinese are straight as a pencil, and literally. And you see here she, you know, a little bit pike in the hips, a little bit arch in the back. And those are things that the judges can see.
Of course, it's hard to compare anybody to China because they just sort of are the masters of the bars. The Spanish team, this is Laura Campos, the 18-year-old. She is, Spanish team is typically very clean with execution, but no one really compares to China in terms of technique. This is one of her best events, the bars, and she also does very well on the vault. Jesus Carballo Sr., the head coach of the Spanish women's team for many years. His sons compete for the men's national team. One of his sons was a world champion on the high bar about 10 years ago. Jesus Carballo Jr. All right, we saw 3 clutch performances for the American women on the beam. That loads up the pressure on their closest rival in this team competition to this point, and that is China. Can they put up 3 athletes who can hit 3 routines consistently? There has been one knock of the Chinese program through their storied career. It is lack of consistency. But few can argue with their mastery of the bars and the balance beam.
Over the years watching China, particularly on the balance beam and bars, when they hit, and it's a clutch performance. But sometimes you'll be watching and they'll fall on maybe a simple skill, and that's the type of things that, you know, you were talking about, Bart. You know, if they hit these 2 events, they are clutch. So
wow,
beautiful dance element.
Pong, pun, pun. So high.
Nice front flip to a sheep jump. That's again a difficult jump. And just because that skill has no flipping or twisting to it, it's extremely hard because when she jumps up, she throws her head back and loses sight of the beam.
This, along with the floor, are her 2 best events. But she fell in the qualifying round. They had falls from the Chinese team, I should say, that cost them in qualifying. Whoa.
Nice routine so far. Getting ready for the dismount. Round off double pike dismount. Just 1 step over the side. So that's a solid performance.
Effortless. You know, she's so lean that you would think she'd be exclusively an uneven bars worker, but she says her best events are the beam and the floor, which are typically powerful events, and she has plenty of power. I
always wondered how the beam felt to girls as little as her.
When you weigh 12 pounds.
Right. And, you know, and you're so little. I mean, is the beam like a highway? Or to me, it was definitely 4 inches.
Yeah, and if you happen to be 4 inches wide, then it's like walking on a sidewalk for you. From Russia now, Anna Pavlova to the floor. End of the first rotation, Russia was in 7th place in the team competition. They have climbed up to 5th after the end of the second rotation at the halfway point in this meet.
Opens up with a full in. Nicely done.
Ooh, good save.
Very good save. Generally, gymnasts do a 2.5 punch front layout and usually land the skill on 2 legs. With what she did, it looked like she was going to have a mistake, but again, saying being a judge, I couldn't tell whether she was supposed to land on 2 legs or step it out, but she stepped it out and made it look effortless. It's little tricks like that that just separates gymnasts with experience from others.
She had a fall in the preliminary competition on the floor, scored only a 13.7 on the floor. Made a mistake on her last tumbling pass. Let's see if she can make it today.
Everything Anna does, she does with a lot of amplitude, and that's something to admire about her. And beautiful lines.
And she made it today. That was the move she fell on in the preliminary rounds. The pike double back, nicely done
Beautiful
for Anna Pavlova. You talk about amplitude, and it's a term that means bigness, isn't it? It's kind of hard to explain to a non-gymnastics expert, but how do you explain it? It's just everything has a bigness to it.
Yeah, exactly. I would explain it, you know, you do a skill, and a lot of gymnasts will do it high, but it looks a little whippy, too fast, not enough distance. And when Anna does it, she goes up real high. You see the distance move. You actually can see the skill performed in the air very smoothly and cleanly, and with a great landing. Nice mount, round off layout, step out. Again, that's a risky one, but if you nail it, you already set yourself up with some confidence. Beautiful front tuck. A sheep jump.
Wow.
To a full twisting swing down. That's mega, mega hard. And the connection, there was no question to the judges whether it was connected. That was done very well.
This is, of course, Zhang Nan, the oldest member of this team, 20 years of age. The Olympic Games, she was the bronze medalist in the all-around in Athens.
An aerial to a back handspring layout step out. Oh no. She looked like she landed it perfect and then lost control of her core. It's little things like that that need not to happen.
You know, she started off very aggressively. Does your mind start to wander late in the routine? Do you start thinking, hey, it's going well? Is that a difficult challenge to keep your head into it?
You start off fresh, you know, you start off with confidence. You've nailed a few skills. You start to go on, and then you feel like the pressure builds up. Okay, I've done so much already. 1 more left, 2 more left, you know, like, and that's where your mind begins to change, and either you take force and tell yourself to stay calm, because naturally you do get anxious as to the dismounts coming. You want to just get off the beam, basically. You want to get off
of here.
Exactly. And so it's then when you have to calm yourself down and take one skill at a time and keep that pace until you hit the floor on your dismount.
Pavlova was 14.225, much improved over her performance in the prelims. Hey, this is Yelena Zamolochikova. The 24-year-old from Moscow, the oldest member of this team, 2-time Olympian, former Olympic champion on this event.
Second pass, a full in, nice landing. stuck it.
She won 3 medals at the 2000 Olympics 6 years ago. Team silver and vault gold and floor gold. It's great to see her still competing. Altogether, she's won 10 world and Olympic medals over the past 7 years.
Elena's known for her wonderful floor work. She's a powerful gymnast and utilizes the power on this event very well. 1.5 step out to a double twist. Again, it's those simple combination side passes that are required for the gymnast to do with the new code. Nice double pike for the Disno.
Yelena Zamolodchikova, the 24-year-old who is essentially a professional gymnast. She travels the world competing in World Cup competitions. She makes her living basically with prize money and appearance money. That's something new in the world of gymnastics. Only in the last several years have gymnasts extended their careers, because especially these athletes from formerly Eastern European countries, many of them make a very good living traveling around the world competing, performing exhibitions, and staying connected to gymnastics. So quite a bit different from the era where I grew up, where you couldn't make any money doing it. You finally had to quit and get a job. Many of these gymnasts, more so for the men than the women, are competing even into their 30s because this is a way to make a living. Would you like to do this as a profession?
You know, I'm taking a college route right now, so I'm still amateur.
You're still an NCAA eligible athlete,
right,
whatever that means anymore.
But like we talked about, Bart, 2016, here I come.
There you go. All right, here we are at the end of 3 of 4 rotations. China, based on the strength of their balance beam routines, a little less than a point ahead of the United States. Romania in 3rd, Russia 4th, and you see the rest of the field. We move to the 4th and final rotation in these World Championships. China will open on the floor. The United States will follow them there. Number 1 and number 2 teams finishing on the same event. As we watch Russia, Anna Pavlova get ready for her performance on the vault. Russia currently in 4th place, 1.9 behind Romania. Romania in 3rd. So if Russia hopes to earn a medal, it will be their strong vaults.
And a Yurchenko double twist, nicely done with a very solid landing.
Against Romania on the bars, where they're typically weaker. So Russia could overtake Romania into the bronze medal spot at least in this last rotation. It's hard to find much wrong with Pavlova's gymnastics. Technically, artistically, she really has the whole package, doesn't she?
Definitely. And her lines, her clean lines, that's, to the human eye, I mean, gymnastics, there's so minimal deductions, but when you see the nice extension in her legs, it really accentuates her and makes you feel like, you know, it's been done very, very well, which would, as a judge, I mean, I'd want to give her a little higher score just for that.
We talked about several teams affected with injuries. The Russian team is missing their superstar, Yulia Lozechko. She broke a couple of fingers in the podium training here in Aarhus. And so Anna Grudko got the call, the 16-year-old from Rostov-on-Don, to step up and compete. She only did vault in the qualifying round, scored a 14.875. She was scheduled to do beam, but after Russia had 4 solid performances in the qualifications, they opted to not have her compete there and save her for this team final today. European Championships. This year, she was the vaulting champion.
Yurchenko double twist again with a great stick.
Very high. You talk about amplitude. There was bigness to that vault.
That was bigness. You see her, she comes into the round up here, the back handspring. She gets a great pop off, and you see it lift.
Start value for that vault is a 5.8. Yurchenko with the double twister. That's added to her execution scores for the final score.
You see her the back view again. Great form in the air. Nice landing. It's going to get a big score. Especially with the vault, like I was saying. To the human eye, to the judge, it happens so quickly, so there's not a lot that you can see. But when a gymnast sticks the vault, you know that it must have been good.
For China on the floor now, Chung Fei. She is one of the most explosive gymnasts in the world. Does a double twisting, double back somersault, usually in her first pass here. Pang Panpan has already performed for China on the floor. Chung Fei is their second of 3 to go. Oh.
She opens up with a double twisting, double back, and floats out of it to stick it.
That is a thing of beauty.
She blows my mind. Little girl, don't really think that she's such a powerhouse.
Her score of 15.475 was the highest score in the qualifying round.
Side pass. Very nicely done. The key to gymnastics is to make hard skills look flawless and look simple, and that's exactly what she does. She makes the hardest skills in the world look like a cartwheel.
Heavy expectations for the Chinese team heading into the 2008 Olympics, which will be, of course, in Beijing.
Beautiful 2.5 to finish. But I didn't see much wrong with that routine at all. That's going to be a huge score. Perfect technique. Look at the round-up back handspring. Her arms in line with her ears. Beautiful form in the air, points her toes in the air.
That double twisting double at the beginning of the routine, just impeccable. Very popular, Chung Fei. You'll get a kick out of this. The Chinese are very superstitious, so they're leaving nothing to chance for the Olympics in 2008. Number 8 is a lucky number in China, so the Olympics will begin on August 8th, 2008 at 8 p.m. So much for superstition. They also expect to win.
Right. Well, I mean, by the looks of the competition they're having so far, they're setting themselves up for just that.
Former Olympic champion on this event, Yelena Zamolodchikova, she can do this vault in her sleep.
Beautiful Yurchenko double full. Little hop in the landing, but nice distance. You see there, she clears a great deal of the mat.
(15.125). Nicely done for Russia, working their way up into the team standings. 7th after the first rotation, 5th after the second, and 4th after the third. The final performer for China on the floor now, Shang Nan. Their most experienced. Two times a bronze medalist in world competition at the Olympics and, of course, the World Championships in 2003 in the all-around.
She opens up with a full in. Little step on the landing. That's going to be a small deduction. Nice side pass. She looks a little timid, though. Like, she's not going big. She wants to do the skill and just do it well enough to stay on her feet with minimal deduction. Third pass. 2.5 twists. Solid landing.
The Chinese and the American women separated by about 9/10 of a point. China on top, U.S. behind. China has 2 solid routines in the bag. This is their 3rd and final performance. Zhang Nan, and her last tumbling pass.
Double pipe.
Clean.
Very clean. Although the excitement in the dance might not have been there, it was a very solid routine, and she's going to get a good score for that.
Chinese men in yesterday's team competition easily won. The Chinese women very proud of their effort today. It's hard not to cheer for these young ladies. They are always in good spirits. And of course, there's an enormous amount of respect from gymnastics experts in their level of technical precision. It's really a thing to watch, isn't it?
Yes. I mean,
Australia on the bars. Daria Jura.
nice high Jaeger. Daria has very clean lines on bars. Again, low to the high bar transition. We have to see another mistake here. If you shoot your toes out a little too soon and let go of the low bar a little too soon, you will come in close to that high bar, where it stops your momentum and you can't continue smoothly with the routine. It's unfortunate right here. She just can't build up enough momentum to get up and cast up, so she actually has to do another kip cast and restart herself. That's going to be a big deduction there. See her a little crooked from the aerial view on that pirouetting skill. Beautiful dismount though.
After 3 rotations, the Australians were in 7th place. Feng Chengfei, 15.65, gets you caught up on the scores. Very happy with that score on the floor. They're one happy team today. We don't yet have the score on Shangnan, but the Americans will know what they need to score once the final score from China is in, because the Americans will go up next. Final 3 performances in the team competition to see who earns team gold today. One-touch warm-up continuing here for the Americans. Did you like to know the scores late in the competition? Some people pay attention to them, some don't.
I liked definitely by the 3rd event, just take a glance and see where we were out, as far as if we were up in first, and we just, not necessarily like it's changing your mindset with your gymnastics at all, like you're going to do anything different, but just to know whether or not you need to give a solid performance to stay where you're at, or you need to go that extra mile and really do what you do with amplitude and bigness and make it huge to make up the difference, to be in contention for the first place medal.
Jana Beeger getting a few last-minute instructions from her mother. She will be the first to go for the 3 American finalists on the floor. We saw her have an unfortunate landing on her vault. She came back with a very aggressive and focused balance beam performance, a clutch performance for the Americans, in fact. Reminder, the American women about 9/10 of a point behind the Chinese coming into this 4th and final rotation. All 3 Chinese women hit their routines extremely well. We do not yet have all of their scores. The Americans need to hit and do it well.
Jana opens up with a very clean double layout. Does it effortlessly. Triple full. Makes all the way around. A little bit low in the landing. Nice dynamic dance pass right there.
Interesting comparison. In the qualifying rounds, the American women outscored the Chinese women by about 1.3 in the qualifying round on the floor. So if they hit, there is a possibility they could move back in the first place. Uh-oh.
Huge Arabian double front, but takes a step out of bounds.
For going out, plus a technical deduction for whatever caused you to go out of bounds. Wow.
Beautiful double pike. That popped up in the air nicely.
It really did. Very aggressive. Jana Beeger not holding back for the American women.
With the out of bounds, it's, especially when you're out there competing, it's those out of bounds tense where you're like, geez, you know, that really wasn't necessary. She did a great Arabian double front. Looked like maybe ran a little bit too far into the floor before she started her round off. And it was such a dynamic double front, Arabian double front, that she, the step forward just happened to be out of bounds.
And we will wait and score for her. Over to the bars quickly. Luncia from Romania. Uh-oh. Romania in 3rd place coming into this 4th and final rotation. Russia was solid on the vault, so Romania cannot afford mistakes here on the bars if they hope to stay ahead of Russia.
She's a quick little thing, but has a few too many deductions as far as leg separations to a point. Right there, she missed the handstand. See her feet come apart a few times. See the dismount, when she kicks off the bar, she has a huge leg separation, which is very obvious to the judges.
This has been the nemesis for the Romanian team, typically outstanding on beam, floor, and vault. They have,
the leg separation,
many years not been very good on the uneven bars, and that is showing up today. Alicia Shakramoni now from the United States. She is the reigning world champion on this event, and we're going to see why.
Alicia opens up with a Arabian double front, huge. Takes a big hop out of it, but you see that still stayed in bounds. Beautiful triple twist. This girl also has springs in her legs. Nice side pass, front full.
A little bit of a controversy with her score in the qualifying round. She was originally giving a 6.1 degree of difficulty for her routine, which was quickly adjusted to 5.6. They took off a half a point because it was noted that she did not fulfill what they call an element group requirement, this dance pass. We'll see how she is judged today, but that unfortunately keep her out of the finals.
2.5 punch front layout, beautifully done. Took a little hop on it, and the judges may take a deduction on that because it looked like it was not a controlled landing.
But boy, she is fun to watch.
Oh,
it's
man.
The combination
Sassy
of presentation,
style.
sassy style, and of course just blow you away with the difficulty of her tumbling.
She definitely engages the audience into her floor team, that's for sure.
Alicia Sacramone delivers for the United States team when they needed it the most. They need 3 hit routines. Jana Bieger, 15.15, a very good score for her. We can expect even more for Sacramone. There will be one final performer for the Americans to see who will walk away with the team gold medal at these World Championships. It is close between China and the United States. And for the bronze medal, it looks like it's coming down to Russia and Romania. Romania struggled with their first performance on the bars.
Right there, a little break. Nice finger, but again you see a leg separation as she catches the bar. Another leg separation.
Stuck landing.
Stuck landing. Solid routine, but just a few too many leg separations.
She scored 14.225 in the qualifying round. All of her other scores were in the 15-point range. Chelsea Memel, reigning world all-around champion, coming off a severely sprained ankle just a week or so ago here in Aarhus, the final performer to go for the American women on the floor. 2 solid routines already performed for the Americans. Jana Bieger, we saw her score of 15.15. We are waiting on the score of Alicia Sacramone. As I mentioned, there was some controversy about her actual difficulty value in the qualifying rounds. That could be under discussion right now by the judges and causing the delay. Adds a little extra pressure on Chelsea to stand up there and think this one through. Did you like to stand up there, or did you step off the podium and...
I didn't mind. I think it's some sort of a taboo that to stand up there too long is a bad thing. But for me, I was up there, I was focusing, I was going through mental routines and kind of, you know, just focused on what I had to do and forgot about everything else going on.
The American women competing, somewhat of an injured team. You see the rather low score for Drunčia, unfortunately, 13.05. Romania on the bars. Nastia Liukin sprained her ankle in a training camp before they came to Denmark. So they only have the benefit of the number 2 all-around gymnast in the world. Liukin on one event, the bars. But nearly every team here is competing without 1 or 2 of their best athletes due to injury.
World champion from USA, Chelsea Memel.
Here we go, folks. It's all in the hands of Chelsea Memel.
Whip, whip, to an Arabian double front. Perfect landing.
Nice.
Great way to open up a routine. Double layout for a second pass. Does it flawless.
Remember, we saw her fall from the bars uncharacteristically in the second rotation, then a clutch performance on the balance beam, saving it for the American team.
Nice dance jumps right there. Two-and-a-half punch front layout, perfect landing.
Spectacular, and she stayed in bounds.
She's not giving anything up on this routine. See, you can hear the crowd getting into her floor routine, clapping along with her music. That always helps with the adrenaline on the last pass.
You're not kidding. One final tumbling run. Chelsea Memel nails it.
The landing.
Oh, folks, this is going to be close. Chelsea Memel with two gutsy performances on the beam and the floor shows her commitment to this American team. We do not yet have the score of Alicia Sacramone. Chelsea getting a hug from her father and coach Andy Memel. Well done. The Chinese team, they are finished. A strong performance today. We will wait the scores to see the final standings. The American women have to be happy with that clutch performance at the end of this meet.
No doubt. See here, we're watching a replay of Chelsea's first pass, a whip to an Arabian double. Chelsea is known just for landing this pass. She literally drives her feet into the ground and says, I am not moving these. Judge, you are not taking anything from me.
Well, the performances are complete. Marta Caroli walking over with the #1 raised up. I'm not sure if that means we won or girls get ready for the award ceremony. I'll talk to you later. One of the difficulties with the new scoring system is it takes longer to get out these scores, and they're very complicated. It was difficult before, but it's next to impossible to calculate the scores now.
Judges, get your calculators out.
I never wanted to be a judge, and I certainly don't want to now, considering not only the amount of calculation, there's a lot of math going on. Adding scores, subtracting deductions, it's at least twice as difficult as it was during the last quadrennium. Ironically, the gymnastics looks about the same. It's just the way of evaluating the gymnastics which has gotten even more complex. Hard to believe that it's harder, but it is. Everyone looking at the scoreboard here in Aarhus, waiting to see the final results.
You gotta love suspenseful moments like this. But regardless, both teams should be very happy with their performances. Both were outstanding, China and the U.S.
Both had a couple of mistakes, and then they came back with clutch performances. It's kind of an odd year because it's the middle of the quadrennium. These World Championships slightly different than in the past because there is a team contest going on here. In the qualifying round, just the top 24 teams in men and women qualify to next year's World Championships in Stuttgart, where 12 teams from those World Championships will go to the Olympics. China celebrating. We don't have view right now of the final scoreboard, but it is clear that in the final event, China hung on. They had a 9/10 of a point lead approximately over the United States going into the floor. They were solid, as was the American team. looks like China will win. To go with the win in the men's team competition yesterday, the women make a statement as well. The Chinese team has made it very clear that they plan to win the Olympics in Beijing at home. Everyone else should plan to shoot for silver. If this is any precursor to the depth of their program and the focus of their team, things are looking good for China. Here are the final results. By less than a point, China wins over the United States. Russia moved ahead of Romania in that final rotation to earn the bronze. Well, as we prepare for the award ceremony here in the women's team competition, China, USA, or Russia, they will get the medals. As we look at some of the highlights, Zhang Nan there on her vault. Tasha, your impressions of what you've seen, the transition period we're looking at, the new rules, the slightly different gymnastics based on the new requirements. Are you impressed with what you're seeing so far?
I'm very impressed. The gymnastics seems, like you said, similar to what it used to be. There's new little, requirements. We require gymnasts to do side skills and more simple basic skills, which is different. But especially with the Chinese, I'm very impressed with their consistency. Because they're not known for consistent. They're known to be amazing, but
right.
Give it up when it comes to consistency on beam and bars. And I feel like they came into the meet tonight and were prepared to not give up anything.
Highlight was Chung Fei with her signature vault, the Yurchenko 2.5 twister. You see the difficulty value there, 6.5. It's about 7/10 higher in terms of degree of difficulty than all the other vaults being done in today's competition by the other team members. China rewarded for their high level of difficulty in every case.
And that's where the new code comes in and changes everything. Because with the old code, doing the 2.5 twist that she would perform would only give her 1 more tenth of bonus, whereas now it gives her 7
more
tenths.
tenths. Exactly. I think one of the thought processes behind the whole new code of points is to separate good gymnastics from great gymnastics. And so at that very high level, it may serve that purpose to give the benefit to a gymnast who's willing to go for an extremely risky skill. But on the other hand, if you make a mistake, you are going to pay the price because the deductions are enormous for falling, technical errors, composition, lack of connection, and other things. Well, 4,200 people here in Aarhus saw a really fine gymnastics competition. As you see, National Team Coordinator for the United States, Marta Caroli, congratulating the American women, telling them good job. Chelsea Memel doesn't look pleased. She fell from the bars. That was unfortunate. When the U.S. team finished less than a point behind China, and every fall counts a minimum of 8/10, it's easy to see where you can make up the difference.
The really cool thing about Chelsea, though, is that if she does a mistake, which is rare, you see her shine and really fight hard to come back and, you know, make it up in the other events.
We certainly did see a real glimpse of the character of Chelsea Memel. And Jana Beger did the same after having a fall on the vault to come back with clutch performances for the U.S.
Artistic Gymnastics Championships victory ceremony. Team finals.
As we take a look at the awards ceremony, this brings to close the second of 5 groundbreaking days of coverage here. We are live, folks, from Aarhus, Denmark, the World Gymnastics Championships. Yesterday we had 3 hours of men's team competition. Today, 3 hours of women's finals. Tomorrow, we have 6 hours of coverage. We'll be covering the men's all-around final with a short 1-hour break, followed by the women's all-around final. And then Friday and Saturday will be on 3 hours plus. Both of those days covering the individual apparatus finals. So in total, 18 hours of live gymnastics from the World Championships, only on WCSN. You take a look at the bronze medal team from Russia. The silver medal team from the United States. And look out, folks. With an average age of 17.8 years of age, in the 2003 World Championships in Anaheim, China lost out to the bronze medal to Australia because of an unusual technical deduction. A couple of their gymnasts were warming up on the podium, didn't understand the rule that you can't warm up on the podium before you go to compete. That 0.2 of a point deduction cost the Chinese team the bronze medal in those World Championships. That's certainly not a factor here today. The Chinese women win the gold in this precursor to the upcoming Olympics in Beijing 2008.
Of the International Gymnastics Federation.
5 times the Chinese women have won medals. 2 times the silver medal at World Team Competition. 3 times the bronze medal. But never the gold until today. I remember back in the late 70s and early 80s when the Chinese team started to come into contention. They were spectacular but inconsistent, and we all kept thinking, oh boy, if they start hitting their routines, we're all in trouble.
Well, we see here tonight. They put it together and became the World Championship.
A very knowledgeable and appreciative gymnastics crowd, acknowledging the 3 best teams in the world right now. China, US, and Russia. Romania in a transition period, finishing just out of the medals in 4th. So I'll take a minute to acknowledge the Chinese national anthem. I have a feeling between now and through the Beijing Olympics, we're going to hear a lot of it. Ago at the Olympics in Greece, China, a very disappointing 7th place finish in the team competition. 5 times they've won world team medals, but never the gold until today. The Chinese women reign supreme in Aarhus, Denmark. Please remember to join us later on this week on WCSN, the World Championships Sports Network, home of the World Champions, for more exciting live gymnastics coverage from Aarhus. Tomorrow we'll be seeing all-around finals for the men and the women. Friday and Saturday, the individual apparatus finals. A lot of medals to be handed out yet here in Aarhus. For world gold medalist Tasha Schweikert, I'm Bart Connor. We're glad you've joined us today. We look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow on WCSN, home of the World Champions. So long, everybody.